I grew up in Brooklyn in a very blue-collar neighborhood. And the first camera I ever got was a Polaroid swinger camera, which I got from my bar mitzvah. I would say that started my career, so to speak. I went to college and wanted to be an organic farmer. That didn't work out too well, and that was really my higher education. At some point, I took a class at the New School in New York, photography class. The instructor there really turned me on. In many ways, he was a mentor. His name was Dennis Simonetti. I learned how to do developing and printing. When I first saw a print developing and a developer, it was magic. It really was magic, and that's kind of what sold me completely on where I am today. I think in every film that I've worked on, there's always a memorable moment. In 1988, I was fortunate enough to work on Goodfellas and Avalon, and those were two different movies, but pretty special. Avalon in particular, because it was so visual. It was lit by Alan Davio. The visual imagery was just so beautiful to photograph that Alan had lit it in such a way that it was really hard to take a bad photograph. And it was inspiring to watch this man paint. He painted with light, which is something I don't see that often anymore. We're doing a scene where the actor is walking through what we call Electric Park. It's a big dolly track back with him, maybe 100 feet or so. And there was no way I could really get a great shot because the dolly was right centered with the actor walking. And Barry Levinson, to his credit, knew that this would probably be a one sheet. So when we were done, he put me on the dolly and we recreated the actual shot, and that ended up as the one sheet for Avalon. And on the flip side, there was Goodfellas, a very gritty, New York kind of story with gangsters, which I love. Characters in the movie, the type of people that I grew up with, so it felt like home almost. Marty works in a way that you really have to respect, the way he works as a filmmaker. Another challenging movie was Unfaithful, again DP'd by a brilliant DP, Peter Bijou. There was so much nudity in it that, the still photographer was asked not to be there. So that was pretty challenging to try to get that intensity, the sexual intensity of the movie, which is something Adrian Lyne, the director, does so well. We were going to film the last sex scene, and I approached Diane and said I'd not been able to get anything, that kind of recreates that. And she said, no problem, you could be there for this. And that ended up being the one sheet, that ended up being the poster. Some DPs are going to make you shine, they're going to make you shine, and it's always a joy to work with those DPs. The fear that I would have in terms of work in the film industry is when the film is over, the project's over, I'll never work again, which makes me think about an interview I saw with Jack Lemmon many, many years ago. And he was asked that exact question, and he said, when the movie's over, he's afraid he'll never work again. And here's a guy who's, a great actor, certainly probably has more than enough money, and yet he was afraid he'd never work again. Nobody calls you and says, hey, thanks for 30, 40 years, here's your gold watch. It doesn't work like that. The phone just doesn't ring, and that's it. I think that's a fear that all of us have who are freelance people, and that's what we are. I've been doing this 32 years or so, and I still can get juiced when working on films, whether it's the acting, or the lighting, or I made a great photograph, or the relationships you form. I still get as juiced in a different way, but as juiced as I did when I first started doing this. At my age, not that I'm really old, all things can happen, man. At 55, I fell in love. At 60, I'm receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award, so all things can happen.